If you're wondering what to look for in an iron for quilting, you're going to want to watch this video because I'm going to share that information with you. Hi, I'm Kim Jamieson Hurst of Chatterbox Quilts, and today I'm talking about a very pressing subject, and that is irons. So I wanted to go over some of the features that you should consider when you're looking for an iron for quilting. So I've got a couple irons here that I want to talk about in relationship to some of the things I think are really important. So let's talk about the most important thing that everybody talks about, and that is whether you need a steam iron or not. Whether you should be using steam when you're pressing for quilting, whether it's pressing your fabric or whether it's pressing your seams, is a really hot topic. Okay, now let me tell you what I think about that. I don't use steam. Over the years, I have used steam and I've used dry irons. I've gone back and forth, and I find that I get much better results with a dry iron. I do use a starch alternative. I use Easy Press Solution. If you're not familiar with that product, which I absolutely love and gets my seams flatter than anything else I've ever used, check the description below for a link to that product. Now, because I say I don't use steam does not mean I don't use a steam iron. I know that sounds a bit weird, doesn't it? Let me explain. First off, if you're looking for an iron that does not have any steam with it, and you can find an iron like this, no steam holes in the bottom, that's your best bet. Now, I have this iron. Unfortunately, this particular one, this is a Continental dry iron, it failed on me in less than a year. I have no idea why, because it was perfect in every way except for that. So unfortunately, it might have just been this particular iron that I actually bought. But if you can find an iron that's sort of like the old-fashioned ones, flat bottom, no steam holes, obviously it's a dry iron. It has settings that go up to 6 on this particular one, which would be, our cotton linen that we need to have that heat for when we're pressing for quilting. And the other thing is that when you have an iron that has this kind of a bottom on it, there are no steam holes. Okay, that's kind of obvious, right? But it also makes it a lot easier to clean this iron, okay? Because there's no place for, if you use some Dritz iron off cleaner, which is what I like to use. If you use that, it can get into the steam holes, and then you have to get in there and get them out individually. So it's a little trickier to clean your iron, takes a little bit longer. Okay, if you are wanting to get a steam iron, this one actually has the ability to use steam in it. You can turn it on or off. I use this iron currently without any water in it, so no steam, but it does have all the steam holes, and you can see it's hot right now because I just finished cleaning it. It's tough to clean, but you can see that all these little holes here would have some product in them that I would have to, get in and get out of there. So that's a bit of a disadvantage when you're talking about a steam iron as well. But as I said, I can either use steam or not. I can turn it right off here, or if I put water in, I could have high steam there, but I prefer to use it without steam. If you do want to use steam, if you want to have a steam iron and you're going to put water in all the time, just keep in mind that it may fail sooner than a dry iron because you've got corrosion going on there because you have water in it all the time. So one thing to think about with a steam iron. Another thing, and this is a personal preference, but for me, I like to have an iron that does not have an automatic shutoff on it. Neither of these irons have an automatic shutoff on them. The reason I don't like to have that is because I can be working and pressing seams, and then I might be sewing for 20 minutes or half an hour before I go to my next set of pressing. And in between that time is when the iron shuts off. So then I have to turn it back on and wait for it to come up to speed, up to heat again, really. It's not a long time, but it's just, I find it a bit frustrating. So that's just me. But if you're the kind of quilter who may forget to turn off your iron as you rush out to the quilt shop, perhaps having an auto shutoff feature would be a good safety feature for you. Another thing to think about is the cords. Now, there was a time, I remember, when cords on irons were not very long, okay? My irons are plugged in over to the side. My pressing surface is behind me, but sometimes I like to use them up here with a pressing surface, of course, on my cutting table. And so I want to make sure I've got a long enough cord. So either of these irons would fall into the I have enough cord category. I think they're 6 or 7 feet long. They're both the same. So that's not an issue with these. If you are working with an iron that has a long cord and you have it stretched, across your studio, you might want to consider taping it down so that you don't trip on it or, yank the iron down or, hurt yourself or cause damage. But I like to have a nice long cord on the iron if you can. And sometimes, I don't think these ones have, well, this one does actually, you can have these kind of swivel features where it'll move around so it doesn't get caught up on the iron, and that's also very nice as you move along, especially when you're pressing yardage, especially when you're pressing yardage. Okay, what else should we look for in an iron? Well, weight is another thing, okay? Both of these irons have a good weight to them. Again, I think that just helps to get the pressing done that you want, to get it nice and flat. That's kind of a personal thing as well. But a light iron I don't think is quite as effective as one that has a bit of weight to it, and most of them do. So, unless you're using a travel iron or something along those lines, okay? Another thing you want to think about when you're looking at irons is the heat. So you want to have something that's got at least 1500 watts of heat in it, okay? You need to have that high heat to press your seams nice and flat when you're quilting, right? That's really important. Again, most of the irons that you'll see do have the higher wattage, but just be on the lookout for ones that might be less expensive. Maybe they're not going to heat up as high as you need them to get the best results when you're quilting. Now, something else you need to consider when you're buying an iron is, do you have to get a special iron that's kind of made for quilting, if you will? So there are some quilting irons or irons on the market that are, advertised as being for quilters, that type of thing. They can be very expensive, several $100s actually. There's even ones that have the steam reservoir. Of course, I don't look at those because I don't want the steam, okay? I find the steam can distort and stretch my fabric, so I don't want that. If I want the steam to make my wrinkles go away and things like that, if that's what I'm looking for with steam, I will use the Easy Press solution. That works better than any steam I've ever used. So, do you need to spend the money on those kinds of irons? I would say no, and I'll tell you why. An iron such as this, which I can purchase at Walmart or Canadian Tire if you're in Canada, might cost me $40, $50 as opposed to several $100s. If this iron fails, I can go and buy another one. And I've got to say, this iron, this is by Philips, and I've had this iron for longer than I can remember, okay? And it's still working strong. It was probably about $30 or $40 at the time. So if I do have to replace one of these irons, it's much cheaper than having to either get parts or actually replace the whole unit if you get some of these more expensive ones that cost several $100s. So I'm going with the cheaper, heavier iron that has the long cord, that is a dry iron, or if I buy a steam iron, I don't put the water in it. And that's the kind of iron that I think is the best for you for quilting. I forgot one thing to mention to you. You want to make sure there's a coating on the bottom of your iron so that it's easy clean. There are different kinds of coatings you can get, but if you just read on the information that comes with the iron, it'll tell you the kind of coating it has on it. A non-stick coating is what they'll often say, and those are ones that are going to be easier to clean as well. So you won't have to spend as much time cleaning your iron. You can spend more time using it. Thanks for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up. Be sure to share it with your quilting friends. And remember to subscribe and hit the bell so you'll be notified the next time I release a new video. And before you go, check out these other videos I've got just for you. If you want more helpful quilting information, please go to my website at www.chatterboxquilts.com.